All right, about set to go for the Stein Cup. Harvard and Brown first varsity heavyweight boats. Crimson have won 4 straight, 41-9 all time in the Stein Cup. Crimson's first boat has won 37 straight races and 51 of 52, but a big test here against last year's national runners-up. Brown fell to Washington at Nationals, but a great performance by the Brown boat last season. In that first boat for Harvard, the coxswain is Jesse Isikoff. Charles Rigsby is the stroke. James Medway in seat 7. James Croxford in seat 6. Max Mayer-Bossy is in seat 5. Then Ross Jarvis in seat 4. James Johnston in seat 3. Andrew Emmett in seat 2. And the bow is Henry Kennelly, a sophomore from nearby Manchester, Massachusetts. Meanwhile, for Brown, the coxswain's Neil McKenzie. He's a sophomore. Anders Weiss, a senior from Barrington, Rhode Island, is in the 8th seat. Avery Reeville in the 7th seat, Finn Meeks in the 6th seat, David Lazarus in the 5th seat, Brooks Reeville in the 4, Max Loundis in the 3, Peter Woolley in the 2, and the bow is Hunter Leeming, another senior from Sarasota, Florida. It's a young boat this year for Brown, just 2 seniors in the first varsity boat and 5 sophomores. The sophomores getting their first test of the first varsity Stein Cup race between Harvard and Brown as we're about set to go here on the Charles.
Yeah, the 5 sophomores is impressive. My sophomore year, we had 5 sophomores in our varsity, and that turned out well. Often the races in the early going could be challenging for them as they gain experience at the varsity level, but the fact that they have that many in their boat bodes well for the future of that boat.
Brown is 0-2 so far in its first varsity this year. Losses to Yale and Washington, 2 very good boats. Harvard 1-0. They beat Cornell and George Washington last week here on the Charles. 4 seniors in the Harvard boat as we're about set to go.
We've got a lineman here. Crews are tapping it around. The wind is making it challenging for the crews to stay aligned.
Got that strong headwind. Has to be at least 10, maybe 15 miles an hour. And away we go. Harvard and Brown for the Stein Cup. What are you watching in these first 500 meters?
Oh, you just look to see the Harvard crew get off well. I've got them at a 44 to start. Look to be level thus far, maybe a seat to Harvard. Both are moving well, though. This will be a hard-fought race.
Harvard's last varsity 8 loss came 5 years ago, April 10th, against this same Brown team. Crimson have beaten Brown in 4 straight Stein Cups, won 37 races since. Harvard was also the top college boat in the head of the Charles back in the fall, 3rd place overall.
Got Brown at 41. Harvard staying high too, though.
Yeah, right off the bat, Harvard has answered Brown's early aggressive stroke. Looks like the Crimson have a 1-seat edge in the early going.
I'd call it 2, probably.
It looks like they're gaining a bit of ground as well early, trying to punch Brown at the start, just like we saw in the second varsity boat.
Yep, Harvard moving really well here, but Brown moving strongly as well. Both port stroke boats here.
Last week, Harvard was 6:02.50. Be tough to match that this week with the strong headwind.
Yep, Harvard putting in a really good first 500. I've got him at 131 through the first 500, which is great for the headwind.
And now about a half a boat lead for the Crimson as well, and continuing to expand on that lead through the first quarter of this 2,000-meter race.
Yeah, you can see the crews struggling with the wind here. Blades popping up just a little bit.
Looks like both boats in good unison those so far on their strokes.
I've got Harvard at a 37. Brown sticking with him here.
Now this is a Brown team that's used to working out in front. This Brown first boat, used to taking leads early and working in the lead. When they have to work from behind, especially unable to see the Harvard boat in front of them. How tough is that mentally to stay engaged?
Yeah, it's challenging. And the Harvard boat's really taking it to them now. Looks like they've got 7 seats, maybe a length. And the conditions don't make it any easier for the crew that's behind either.
About to reach the midway point. Harvard close to a full shell lead.
Harvard at 35.
Jesse Isikoff, the Harvard senior coxswain.
Brown at 36.
Shouting out the stroke count. Just a slow progress forward for Harvard as they continue to gain inch by inch, stroke by stroke.
Coming through the bridge, you're going to see Harvard with a big move.
Yeah,
big statement move here to let them know.
Something, Dave, you talked about, that middle 20 for Harvard, or the power 20, is a big key to the program.
Yeah, you can see it going right now. They're starting to inch out a little bit more.
It'd be a clean sweep for Harvard if first varsity holds on here. Won its second varsity, third varsity, fourth varsity, and first freshman.
Yeah, and the third varsity and fourth varsity. Don't forget them.
Yep. And even the second freshman for Harvard beat the fourth varsity of Brown.
This is great to see for the Harvard guys, especially again when you're looking back at the Washington race last weekend. Washington beat the Brown crew by 4 seconds.
As Harvard both the defending Eastern champs, continuing to plow forward.
I do think the Brown crew is taking a move here to try to claw back into the Harvard crew as we approach the last 500.
One last gasp for Brown, trying to close strong here. Harvard still out in front. They've led basically wire to wire, looking for their 5th consecutive Stein Cup and 38th straight win.
Brown has had a history of strong sprints as well. Unfortunately, they've nipped a couple Harvard crews in the last 250, and looks like they're making a big move here.
They're gaining on Harvard.
Yeah.
Down the stretch.
Yeah, this is going to be a real dogfight in the last 250.
Harvard's first boat trying to dig deep, keep a 37 race win streak going. Really impressive move by Brown. They look to be out of it at about the midway point.
Yeah, Brown's gone up early. They're to 41 right now. They're going for it. Harvard's going to have to respond.
Jesse Isikoff just took a look to her right and then shouted back to the Harvard boat.
Looks like Harvard's countered the move. They're up 2.
Yeah, Crimson starting to stretch that lead right back out as they approach the finish line.
Yeah, they're giving it to him now. Crimson are moving out.
A punch for Brown, a counter punch for Harvard as first varsity looks to complete the sweep.
Yeah, probably 15 strokes to go. Harvard looking to break open water, looking to see what kind of margin. Yeah.
Final few strokes, flag is out as Harvard approaches the finish line for a 38th straight win and a 5th consecutive Stein Cup. That's a great finish for Harvard as the Crimson win the Stein Cup and answer the Brown response.
Great win. 5-second margin there. And when you look at the UW race last week, that was 5 seconds. Clean sweep for Harvard today.
So if you're looking to try and compare against some of the other top programs in the country, Harvard comparing well to Washington, the 4-time defending national champ, in the head-to-head here against Brown.
Yeah, Harvard guys brought it today. Love to see that.
How about that response at the end when it looked like Brown was making a move after Harvard had led wire to wire and the Crimson just dropped the hammer in the final 250?
That's what you got to do. You got to bring it to them. And the coaches are psyched, too.
Yeah. Well, You can't have had a better day than Harvard's had. A win at every single boat today. First varsity, second varsity, first freshman, third varsity, fourth varsity, and even the second freshman racing in that fourth varsity race clipped the Brown fourth varsity as well.
That's what you train for. Big wins like that.
So the Stein Cup stays here in Cambridge. 51st Stein Cup is Harvard's 42nd win and 5th consecutive. That first boat stays undefeated in 38 consecutive races and 52 of 53, a streak that dates back 7 years, the 52 of 53. 38 straight wins dating back to April 10th of 2010. The beat just goes on for Harvard.